everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now welcome if you are here for the very first time. I hope that you liked the video, and if you do like the video, kindly consider subscribing to the channel, and welcome again if you are here and you watched the previous videos. Now, if you watched the previous video, in the last video we talked about what is psychology, what was the origin of psychology, how psychology came into being, and what are the different processes and what are the different ways in which we understand psychology. As the last time, here I have divided a section. Isme I will talk about all the important things, so that at the end of the video we can go back to this entire glossary section, this entire section that we have made for ourselves, and then we can quickly revise and also move on to the next topic. Now this section is also important for you because ऐसा होता है that we are revising. Now that you are watching the video, you have your book with you, right? So अभी आप समझ रहे हैं, but after a point of time you will understand what is the chapter about. Now you just need the video to revise whatever you have learned, and this section then will come handy for you. Okay, so now the topic for today is psychology as discipline, as a discipline. आपकी बुक में ये नेक्स्ट टॉपिक है आफ्टर द टॉपिक व्हाट इज साइकोलॉजी. सो नाउ 4 topics we will cover today because all of these topics are somehow interlinked to each other. So the very first topic that we will be doing today is psychology as a discipline. अच्छा, लास्ट वीडियो में इफ यू रिमेंबर मैंने डिसिप्लिन से रिलेटेड या किसी भी सब्जेक्ट से रिलेटेड देयर आर 2 प्रॉब्लम्स जो मैंने एक्सप्लेन करी थी. द वेरी फर्स्ट प्रॉब्लम वाज दैट डिसिप्लिन और एनी सब्जेक्ट फॉर दैट मैटर इज कंटिन्यूअली चेंजिंग, continuously evolving, and when there is something which is not constant, आज ये हो रहा है, कल ये हो रहा है, परसों कुछ और हो जाएगा, पहले कुछ और हुआ था. So there is no fixed pattern of changing. That is when this understanding a particular discipline becomes important and becomes difficult as well, because there is no fixed pattern. And the second thing is that there is no one definition. Because it is continuously changing, because it is continuously evolving, there is no one particular definition which we can say that yes, psychology is this and this thing. But that is why we talked about 2 definitions in the last video. The one was about the meaning. If we divide the word into 2 meanings, psyche and logos, study of mind. And second was that psychology as a science deals with mental processes, behaviors and experiences. And when you see the next video, I will be revising whatever we have discussed in the last video, and you have to say it with me so that at the same time you also learn these things. Say it with me that psychology as a science deals with mental processes, behaviors and experiences, and I will not go into the details of all of these 3 because we have already discussed. So let's move on to the next topic, which is psychology as a discipline. So as a discipline, there are 2 different opinions which we can say when we study psychology. The very first opinion that we have is that psychology is a science. Psychology is a science, and the second opinion we have is that it's a social science. Now what is the difference between science and social science? खुद imagine करो, when you study science, is there any subjectivity? क्या मैम आपको ऐसे बोलती है कि अच्छा ये देखो, दिस इज कॉमन सॉल्ट, अब मुझे बताओ कि ये एसिड है या बेस है. जो भी एसिड बोलेगा ठीक है हम एसिड मान लेंगे, जो बेस बोलेगा हम बेस मान लेंगे. या फिर see I am very sort of not so good in science, so I can give you very limited examples only, but क्या ऐसा होता है that ma'am is saying कि water का pH is 7 according to me. आपके हिसाब से अगर pH is 2 तो मान लो, आपके हिसाब से pH is 11 तो वो भी मान लो. ऐसा तो नहीं होता. That means science is based on facts. Science is based on objectivity as opposed to subjectivity, which we discussed in the last class. सब्जेक्टिविटी का मतलब क्या था? दैट एवरी इंडिविजुअल विल हैव देयर ओन वर्जन्स ऑफ एनीथिंग, राइट? आप कुछ और एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं, मैं कुछ और एक्सपीरियंस कर रही हूँ, दैट इज सब्जेक्टिविटी. बट आपके लिए भी पानी, वाटर का लेवल, जो पीएच लेवल है वो भी 7 है, मेरे लिए भी 7 है. दैट मीन्स साइंस इज ऑब्जेक्टिव, whereas on the other hand social science is subjective in nature. अब subjective का क्या मतलब है? For example, nowadays we can see that there are a lot of debates which happen on multiple issues which are happening in the country, right? And also the historical issues also. कभी ये बात हो रही है कि ताजमहल के पहले was there a mosque or was there a temple? What was the history? Is the government trying to change the history? And all of these things. Okay, I am not the one who is getting into any political sort of thing. What I am trying to say is that history is subjective. मे बी जो इस्लाम की हिस्ट्री है वो अलग होगी, एंड दे विल व्यू मुगल एम्पायर एज समथिंग विच वर टोटली डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द इंडिविजुअल्स हु सी दैट मुगल एम्पायर्स वर डिफरेंट. दैट मीन्स हिस्ट्री इज सब्जेक्टिव. हिस्ट्री इज sort of based on the experiences or on the learnings or on anything, any observation made by you which would be different and made by me which would be different. Second thing is that अच्छा अब we have to relate it this also with psychology. So what the psychologist says that objective क्या हो सकता है हमारा? behavior. And then they say कि किसी को पत्थर मारोगे, that person will respond either angrily or maybe they'll start crying. That means कि दोनों में से एक ही चीज होगी. बट एक्सपीरियंसेस हम ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर सकते, माइंड हम ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर सकते. ह्यूमन बींग्स के अंदर व्हाट आर द एक्सटर्नल एंड इंटरनल थिंग्स विच आर टेकिंग प्लेस इन दैट पर्सन्स माइंड हम ऑब्जर्व नहीं कर सकते. एंड दैट इज वाई सम साइकोलॉजिस्ट्स कॉल psychology as a science, and as a science they tend to focus on the behavioral part of an individual, and also the brain activities which happen in an individual. That is why we call it physical science. जो भी physical चीजें हैं that is related to the brain, जो भी MRI हो रही है, EEG हो रही है, जो भी सारी चीजें, from them we can know about the actual structure of brain. Why do humans behave? Why are humans feeling happy? Because of this particular dopamine hormone that is secreted. Why are humans feeling sad? Why are they depressed? Okay, let's check the brain. The activities which are happening in the brain, the neural activities, not the mental processes. The neural activities which are happening, and that is why they call it objective. Because या तो brain का part है या फिर नहीं है. If the part of the brain which is responsible for maybe vision or maybe hearing properly is not functioning properly, then नहीं है तो नहीं है. Objective means either yes or no. Subjective includes n number of things कि कैसे, what is the other person feeling, what is the situation which he was in, कौन सी country में रह रहा था, what was the situation of the country at that point of time, कोविड का टाइम था, वर्ल्ड वॉर का टाइम था, कौन सी सारी सोशल कल्चरल चीज़ें थी जो इंडिविजुअल के आसपास हो रही थी, और उसका इफेक्ट इंडिविजुअल पे कैसे हुआ. दिस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन साइकोलॉजी एज अ साइंस एंड साइकोलॉजी एज अ सोशल साइंस. Okay, second major difference in science and social science is that they tend to only see the neural activities. Neural activities means that is what is happening inside their brain. What are the different activities which are responsible for brain? What is the part of the brain that is responsible for short-term memory or long-term memory? What is the part of the brain that is responsible for our happiness? As a social science, psychologists deal with why do we feel happy? Why, when someone else is happy, do we feel jealous? Why is that? So here, these only place individuals as some sort of neural human beings who are only driven by the brain, only brain is responsible here. And here they see individuals as social beings. Social beings means those are actually driven by society around them, by society, and also the socio-cultural events which are happening in the society, right? And here this deals with only the brain patterns, and they think that individuals are driven by only whatever is happening inside their brain. That means the brain is the only driving force in this, and when we study this brain, then we can come on to the actual conclusion, and I will explain to you even more further why they only focus on something which is observable and verifiable. I'll give you another example. Just a minute. Let me write driven by only brain activities, right? This sort of differentiation is not in the book. This is my way of explaining, so that as we deal with science, at the same time simultaneously we are dealing with social science as well, right? But in your book there are different topics, and this topic as such is important in a way that you have to understand what this book is trying to say and what this entire topic is trying to say. That is it. Okay. Majority of the questions do not arise from this, but also do not take my word as such कि इसको छोड़ के चले गए. You just have to understand so that you can make sentences, make this concept on your own. Okay. So when we say let's deal a little bit more about psychology as a social science, I'll make this afterwards. Okay, at the end I'll make a separate section. Let's take something up with this is with psychology as a science. See, let me give you an example. Imagine that your friend moved away. Okay, your very close friend, you were friends with that person since you were kids, since you were little, and you played with that person, आपने मस्तियाँ करी and बहुत सारी चीजें करी, and then that person moved away. There are two sayings when someone leaves us. One saying is that out of sight, out of mind. And another saying is that distance makes the heart grow fonder. ठीक है? There are two sayings. Now, imagine आपका friend चला गया. Now, after your friend left, if you were able to find another friend, or if you got really close with someone else in a really short span of time, you will forget about that person, and this thing out of sight, out of mind will apply. But if you are unable, after your friend left, if you are unable to make any new friends, ठीक है, यू आर नॉट एबल टू आप किसी से बात नहीं कर पा रहे हो, आप किसी सोशल सेटिंग में नहीं जा पा रहे हो, देयर इज नो वन दैट इज रियली क्लोज टू यू, देन यू विल मिस दैट पर्सन एंड यू विल से कि ना यस, डिस्टेंस की वजह से हमारा रिलेशनशिप और स्ट्रॉन्ग हो गया, हमारा फ्रेंडशिप और स्ट्रॉन्ग हो गया. माई पॉइंट बीइंग इज दैट साइंस को ये नहीं पसंद, साइंस को ये नहीं करना. साइंस बोलती है दिस इज कॉमन सेंस. ये तो हमें भी पता है कि अगर हमारा कोई दोस्त मिल गया तो फिर हम पुराने वाले दोस्तों को भूल जाते हैं, और अगर हमें नहीं मिला कोई दोस्त तो हमें वही याद रहते हैं. साइंस ने बोला दिस इज कॉमन सेंस. साइंस डज नॉट लाइक दिस. व्हाई? बिकॉज द एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ बिहेवियर, इसमें क्या हुआ, व्हाट हैपेंड इन दिस आउट ऑफ साइट आउट ऑफ माइंड वाले बिहेवियर में, व्हाट वाज द कंडीशन कि एक फ्रेंड मिल गया और इसमें फ्रेंड नहीं मिला. ठीक है. My point being is that the explanation of behavior of forgetting your friend happened after you got some other new friends. That means explanation of behavior बाद में हो रहा है, stimulus पहले आया था. Same way in this, stimulus यहाँ आया ही नहीं, friend आया ही नहीं, That is why how you behaved, you were sad. So this behavior happened after the stimulus and we can explain after the behavior. Science does not like this. Science says that we have to assume and we have to predict कि क्या होगा पहले ही. We have to know what will happen beforehand based on the behaviors, based on the observations of behavior. That is why science says that we have to move in a sort of scientific way if we have to study a human behavior. Because अगर हम बैठे रहेंगे कि ये सिचुएशन होगी उसके बाद इसका बिहेवियर देखेंगे तो हम कभी आइडेंटिफाई नहीं कर पाएंगे उसका एक्चुअल बिहेवियर. इसीलिए what we need to do is we have to beforehand observe the characteristics, observe the traits of that individual and then come to a conclusion that he might behave in this way. That is why science always says that we have to approach, let me erase this, you have to approach in a manner, and the manner which was, the name which was given is known as hypothetico-deductive approach. हाइपोथेटिको-डिडक्टिव अप्रोच बड़ा वर्ड है, तोड़ लो इसको. हाइपो से निकाल लो हाइपोथेसिस, थेटिको से निकाल लो थीसिस. ठीक है. नाउ थीसिस क्या होता है? थीसिस इज जस्ट स्टेटमेंट्स दैट वी मेक. एंड हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन सुना है ना, जो हम बना के बोलते हैं. अच्छा, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इमेजिन दैट यू आर इन माई कॉमेंट सेक्शन. ठीक है, और कॉमेंट सेक्शन में कोई बात कर रहा है कि ना मैम ने 2 years से वीडियो अपलोड क्यों नहीं करी. सो नाउ यू आर ऑल मेकिंग अ बंच ऑफ स्टेटमेंट्स कि मे बी मैम अपनी पढ़ाई कर रही थी, मे बी मैम को टाइम नहीं मिला, मे बी मैम की तबीयत खराब थी, एनीथिंग. A bunch of statements. So these bunch of statements will be thesis. And because you're making that up, that is hypothesis. That means hypothetically you are creating or you are saying a bunch of things. Now you have to check if these statements which you have given are true or not. Now, अब आपने for example you came up this statement that मैम की तबीयत ठीक नहीं थी इसलिए मैम ने 2 years तक वीडियो नहीं बनाई. Now maybe you find me in some video I am coughing, right? So आप बोलोगे देखा this proves that मैम की तबीयत ठीक नहीं थी इसलिए मैम खांसी कर रही है. That means this statement that you made, this hypothesis that ma'am did not upload a single video in 2 years because she was unwell, was confirmed by a behavior of coughing, by an incident of coughing. And based on this incident of coughing, based on this incident, maybe coughing or I'm continuously coughing, let's say, based on this incident of coughing, you will come to a conclusion that yes, ma'am did not upload a single video in 2 years because she was unwell, confirmed. What is the process again? We started with a thesis, we started with a statement which was made up. We do not have any evidence till now. We do not have any proof till now. Then we will start collecting for proof. You will start watching my videos. You will look for signs here and there. Then you will, one day you will realize that ma'am is, not one day, continuously for 4 to 5 videos you are observing that ma'am is not well. So what you will do is, you will come to a conclusion that since ma'am was coughing continuously, we can come to this conclusion that ma'am was unwell. And because ma'am was unwell, she did not upload a video. So this entire hypothesis has now become a conclusion. We have came to this conclusion that this and this thing happened. And this is the approach used by scientists. What they do is they make up a bunch of things. For example, in your book, it's the example of Big Bang given. How this universe came into existence. So they made a bunch of things कि maybe ये हुआ होगा, maybe sun फटा, maybe earth फटा, something like that. Okay, they made a bunch of things. Bunch, why am I saying made? Because all of this is hypothesis. All of this is hypothetical. Hypothetical means made up. Something which is not proven yet. Okay, there is a statement, bunch of statements are known as thesis. If it's made up, then it's hypothetical. We'll mix the two words, and then there is hypothesis. Hypothesis means a bunch of statements which are made up and which are not proven yet. That means we do not have any proof or we do not have any sort of evidence to support our statement. Then we look for evidences. We look for behaviors in an individual or evidences. Then if the evidence of the statement that we have just said holds correct, then we move on to the conclusion. और अगर हमें evidence कोई नहीं मिलता है, for example, हमारी first statement क्या थी कि मैम did not upload a single video because she was unwell. Now आप continuously आप मेरी videos देखे जा रहे हो, you find no evidence of me being unwell. तो आप क्या करोगे? आप वापस जाओगे, बोलोगे ये reason नहीं हो सकता, कुछ और होगा. Then you will come to the next कि maybe मैम अपना पढ़ाई पूरी कर रही हूँ. Then you will look for signs maybe I don't know how you look for signs, but maybe you will look for some signs, and then you will say मुझे लग ही रहा था कि मैम अपनी पढ़ाई पूरी कर रही होंगी. So then you will find for another evidence. My point being is that whenever there is an hypothesis, there needs to be an evidence to support that hypothesis. If the evidence supports, that means if the evidence says that yes, this hypothesis is correct, then we move on to the conclusion part. But if the evidence says that this is not correct, we go back again to the hypothesis, modify it a little bit, change it a little bit, and then we move on again to finding the evidence part. Clear? And this is how psychologists came to very definitions, very well-known definitions of intelligence, perception, attention, motivation, memory, learning, all of these words which you hear in our daily life, but actually we don't understand the meaning. Don't worry, we'll do that. Everything we'll do. But psychologists, using this hypothetico-deductive approach, has came on to very well-known definitions of psychology, of psychological attributes and psychological different concepts. Okay, this was the entire concept of psychology, divided into two parts. One being psychology as a science, natural science. Second, psychology as a social science. Now, if I have to entirely summarize it, obviously we will make our where shall we make it? Okay, here. Okay, because this was okay. This is the concluding part of the video, and I must say, please watch this entire video so that you remember and you are able to sort of contextually understand step by step what we are doing in the video. इसमें हमने क्या पढ़ा? That psychology plays two different roles, एक social science की तरह और एक science की तरह. Science की तरह क्यों करती है? Because science में we need facts, we need objective statements. We cannot rely on subjectivity, we cannot rely on something which is not observable, we cannot rely on something which is verifiable, because science needs to verify. That is why whenever there is a behavior and we explain that behavior after the behavior has occurred, then scientists call it, this is just pure common sense. That is why they need to understand, they need to predict, and in the next chapter you will really study how we can predict behavior. हम कैसे पहले से ही patterns को समझ के behavior predict कर सकते हैं. You will study. So science deals, psychology as a discipline, as a disciplinary science of social science, of natural science, deals with objectivity, with statements and facts which are observable, and the model or the approach used is hypothetico-deductive approach. Okay, and when we move on to social science, this just views humans as social beings. Social beings who are not only influenced by their social environment, by the socio-cultural environment, but they also influence the environment. They also influence the socio-cultural environment. Two parts are there, individuals and social environment. Individuals भी social environment को कर रहे हैं, social environment भी individuals को कर रहे हैं. And this is the way. अच्छा, for example, if you are studying here in Delhi in a very sort of private school, and someone else is sitting there in a village and is studying in a local school, as to say, and does not have all the privileges that you might have in your private school. There are no teachers. I'm just saying, okay, I'm giving you an example that there might be no teachers, or if the teachers are there, they are not giving proper teaching learning materials and proper explanation. There is no discussion which is happening. So that person is at a disadvantage as compared to you, because you are this privileged person who is getting sort of links, who is getting access to all of these things. So your behavior, your personality, your experiences, your intelligence, your creativity, your learning, all of these things will be different just because of one thing, that you are brought up in different social environments, in different cultural environments also. Okay? And that is how we conclude this thing, this topic is very simple for you to understand. There is nothing as such new note making in this topic, but in the when I cover major half of the chapter, I told you in the last video that I'll make you mark certain things. So when I'll make you mark this topic, then what you have to learn, then you will get an entire gist of the chapter. Now here I am concluding this topic, but if you have any doubt, and I am very serious when I say this, that if you have any doubt, you can comment below your doubt, and if it's not I've not explained in the video, or if it's something that needs more explanation, I will be gladly explaining all the things to you. Okay, so you can be free in the comment section. Please, I request you to please tell me from which class you are. If you are in class 12th and you accidentally stumbled on this video and you find it interesting, kindly tell me that I am from 12th class and I want to see more videos of my subject also. I will be happily making the videos. And also, second thing, if you want me to make more videos of political science, history, I teach that as well. So you can tell me in the comment section below. So again, comment section is something which you can think of a way to interact with me, to tell me anything, any doubt, any paper if you want to solve, any previous year paper. Though I'll be doing all of these things, I will be discussing previous year papers, how the questions are there, what are the 1 mark questions, what are 6 mark questions. We'll be discussing everything. So stick with me. Okay, and I would suggest that whenever the teacher is covering this topic in your classroom, side by side, watch these videos so that you get an entire understanding, clear understanding, and the next day you can go to your teacher as well and explain the topic to her, and maybe the teacher will be impressed and proud of you. Okay, thank you and take care.